So today we're talking about whether you should upgrade from DSLR or mirrorless to the Canon C200. The C200 is one of Canon's affordable cameras in their cinema lineup. It has a Super 35 4K sensor that is capable of recording UHD up to 60 frames per second in 8-bit. Full DCI 4K 12-bit up to 30 frames per second, and 10-bit up to 60 frames per second. It can also record up to 120 frames per second in Full HD 8-bit. When you record to MP4, you're using the dual SD card slots on the back. So you can either set up to do dual recording, or when one card is filled up, it will switch to the next card. So you can really have a lot of media on this camera. What I like about moving to a camera like the C200 from a DSLR or mirrorless is everything is built into this camera. It is a dedicated video camera. You have all the exposure tools you would expect, professional XLR audio, a monitor, built-in ND, and much more. Now traditionally with a DSLR or mirrorless camera, all of these things need to be added on. You need to buy an external monitor, external audio recorder if you want XLR inputs that is, an ND to fit on the end of your lens. All of these things do add up. I used to shoot with the Sony A7 series, so the A7S, A7S II, A7R2, and a big problem with these cameras has always been the battery life. And that's the first thing I noticed shooting with the Canon C200. A battery will last you nearly all day depending on which one you have. Now this camera to me is really interesting. You have almost two cameras in one body. You have a camera that can record to MP4 at 8-bit, which is perfectly fine for publishing to the web, or you can record internally to the CFast card in Cinema Raw Light, which is a really high quality codec. The problem with recording in RAW Light is very data intensive. So a 128GB card will get you about 15 minutes worth of footage. Now this is a problem sometimes when you're on set, unless you have a lot of these cards, which do get expensive. The way that I've been using this camera is any long recordings, like an interview for example, I will record in the 8-bit MP4. Or for any of the high quality shots like B-roll or product shots, I'll probably use the RAW Light for that. Now, I have to say, I'm really impressed with the autofocus of this camera. I shoot a lot of interviews and it's been really nice having a camera where I know I can rely on the autofocus. On a couple of the interviews I was shooting, I did actually have two C200s, and I set one on a 100mm macro and one on about a 35 or 24mm lens, and I could just trust them to do it. The 100mm macro is really unforgiving with focus errors, and I didn't really have a problem at all, apart from when the subject moved out of frame. Now this is by no means a perfect camera, but if you're looking for a camera that can deliver high quality when you need it, but the majority of your work is going online, this is definitely one you should really consider.